Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us here on Breakfast Central. Let's take a look at the front pages. Today, it's a bumper one because we have roughly, let's say, do we have up to maybe 35 minutes of good conversation. To my left, I've got the one and only Sesan Okunade joins us this very good morning. It's good to see you. I mean, someone sent a message and said, this one is looking ever young. This administration is touching him.
with the presence of my friend that you have brought together with me this morning. I'm in Savans.
Okay. and to the far left, we do have Mr. Dotun Ojon, who joins us. So it's a banger. Let's use that word. It's going to be a banger.
Back to back. Yes. We've been together for a while.
We've been together, Sesan and I have been together for years. Wow. And it's so good to reconnect this morning.
I love that. I love that. So the front pages won't be the same, right? I don't think it's going to be the same. Let's go straight to the front pages very quickly because we need to get your points out as soon as possible. You can call in, but please don't feel bad if we are not taking your calls almost immediately. The very first paper we're going to look at very quickly and touch on the story and get your reactions is our very first paper for this morning. I think we should look at Thisday. I like what we have on Thisday newspaper. CBN affirms strength of Nigerian banking sector, issues routine guidance for banks under forbearance. But that's not what we're going to take. We'll look at this particular story. Senate leadership joins presidential trip to Benue, says it is tired of killings. Let's have your take on that. By the way, just to add to the Benue conversation, which I think will dominate our conversation on papers for the next few minutes. There was a communique that circulated. I don't know if you saw the communique, gentlemen, where people were urged to come out, to throng out and support the president upon his arrival. Our reporter just joined us, and at his back, they had printed backdrops of the governor welcoming the president. There's supposed to be some form of, presentation. They told people to come out and celebrate, and people were cleaning Benue as at midnight. Cut the grass, make sure it looks beautiful. This is the same state that's in crisis. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Sesan, in line with what we have on the front page. What's your take?
Yeah, first and foremost, let me use this platform to condole with the people of Benue State and Nigeria at large on the sad incident that I personally call it a massacre, where you have, from the reports and what we saw, over 100 people, not just individuals, we have family wrecked. I read a report of a man losing the wife, and I think about 3 children, Four children. And I asked myself, that's a generation that you've actually eliminated from the planet Earth. With the report you just asked, I would say, yesterday on the sister station, they were asking me, and I said, I asked myself the importance of the visit of Mr. President to Benue. Why are we, as a country, and why our leaders are reactive to issues and not proactive? The issue on ground is something that is preventable. It's something we come on this table practically every day. Every week I come in here, Joe and Jody, there is no day we don't talk about the issue of insecurity. Several provisions, several suggestions that have been given by several people, but we choose to do the same thing the same way, and we expect different results. We've been, Mr. President, what is disheartening to me as a person to Mr. President is, I would say that this is not the man I know while he was in Lagos. Because he's an advocate of grassroots, that we want to do things differently. I knew quite all right. I was in the space when President Obasanjo was dealing with the governor of Lagos State. And he took the bull by the horn to say, I will give the best to my people. And I think part of the things he can leave as legacy was when he came in, I was thinking that state policing and community policing will be a priority that can tame this level of insecurity. And we've said it, if we must address the level of the insecurity we have now, we must start galvanizing to have like a database. I must be able to know, Joe is putting on his suit. He's just entering into our community. We must profile in. Where are you coming from? Why do you choose to be part of us? Because if you ask me, series of massacres happened. I know the one that happened in Ondo State. A series of states where we know has been very peaceful are suddenly being a place where trauma happens now that we cannot even prepare of. So I've asked myself, why is Mr. President, because the IGP came the other time and said we are not right for it. We are not right for state policing. We are not right for community policing. But I know that if we don't even talk about community policing, as far as this state is concerned, and some other state that I know, every estate does not rely on the security of the government. That's on its own community policing, because they have their own private security architecture that provide and they pay for, and they make things happen. Why can't we now ask local government, state government to have their own? And I think with that we can start, because I can't imagine the government made us understand that they are foreigners. How can foreigners encroach into your state and you don't actually know what is happening?
I wish, just to sort of zero this down and make it more narrow in terms of how we're, analyzing this. Yellowwater itself is a agrarian community, and that means that there are forests and farmlands that are wide and vast, right? And so in communities like this, there's always a breakdown in security, whether because they are far-flung or they're further away from the urban areas, right? They're very rural to the core, and that means that they may not be any existence, not saying that they are not. Again, the operative words is they may not be an existence of an operative in terms of a working police station or a checkpoint that has people that are manned with weapons, or, thereabouts. So even if there are people who are coming in the hundreds or thousands or tens, they may not know how to get out to the main urban areas to get, emergency security first responders as quickly as possible. And I think that's what we also need to factor that into, because all of these places that we're seeing, all of these communities that we're seeing, are communities that are far-flung inside, inaccessible. They have to get through with motorcycles, and their roads are not pliable.
And that is why I will continue to say the essence of community policing. That will take care of that particular aspect. You concentrate more on the urban area. Most of the areas where I've been, a few years ago, I was in Kaduna, where at the heat of it, where they say everywhere is being attacked. But I said to people that care to listen then, that we were actually at the urban area. We never knew anything was going on. As a matter of fact, we went to club till around 12 midnight. At that particular time, when everybody was saying everywhere is heat, you don't have to go. It's actually the suburb. But when you have community policing, it becomes a priority for you to take care of such police. You said something now that they don't have physical structure on policing. They may not have in that particular area. They may not have. But when you entrench community policing, it becomes a priority. If the state government is not doing it, community can galvanize resources within themselves and look for a way to build. I've seen instances where people build structure for policing, because they know the importance of that in their area. But when there is no room for you to even say there must be community policing, how are we going to? Because as soon as you start doing that, then you get somebody saying that it's against the law for you to carry out what you are doing because it's not entrenched in our constitution.
Dotun, I'm going to come to you for this, right? Like you rightfully said, the IGP of police have said that community policing should not be at the fore of this conversation because the police itself is lacking in a lot. There's a lot of deficit when it comes to manpower, machineries, and the rest, and there's still so much that needs to be done regarding that. As community policing is not on the front, weeks ago, barely a month, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, we saw in the news that the general of the Nigerian Army was relocating to Benue, Makurdi, the capital, and will be staying there. Just barely weeks after we have seen that attack, should the general head be on the chopping block, Dotun?
Okay, so it's actually, I don't know where to start from, honestly, because the people of Benue are they may not be too interested in our conversation this morning. They are only looking at 2 sources for help. They are looking at 2 major sources. They are looking at Abuja, then they are looking at the government house in Benue. Before I answer your question, I quickly want to say, unfortunately, these 2 sources, the first one is looking helpless, appearing helpless, obviously coming out to say, I am helpless. And the other source is saying, indirectly, I am overwhelmed. When you are in this situation, then you begin to think that the hope of the people in their government will continue to be dashed. As you have said, coming to your question, if the president gives an instruction, for example, and says, and we have seen this over and over, before this president came on board, there was a president, in fact, there was an inspector general of police who said that he was relocating to a place. He was found in another community, and nothing happened. So we have seen a cultural practice where the president or somebody in leadership will give instruction, and those that are supposed to follow, they don't get to follow through, and at the end of the day, nothing is happening. At this point in time, we have said it repeatedly that the government must restructure the security architecture in Nigeria. But here are about 4 dimensions of restructuring. The first thing is that the problem we have with our military and our police and everybody is not with the gun-carrying members of the military. It's with the money-carrying members of the military, those who are in control of budget. And of course, you and I will understand the fact that once there's insecurity, it becomes a booming business in the security sector, because people will begin to, there will be allocation that they don't account for. And I've said it repeatedly that there are about 3 major ways to steal money from government. You had it under security, you had it under special project, you had it under information. Right. And this has happened for a very long time. So the first dimension of restructuring that needs to happen, answering your question, is the fact that if I give you a responsibility as a leader and you fail in it, you're going to pay dearly for it. Go home is not just any kind of payment. It's too lenient. It's not just about going home. Failing in your responsibility should come with repercussion. Yeah. But we have built a community where people think they can do anything without any kind of repercussion.
All you have to do is cry on national television.
Number one.
That's all.
No, just cry.
Even when you don't cry, just show that.
Just show.
Number 2 restructuring that needs to happen, Sesan. And I like the way you put it, but again, let me tell you that if you check through the Constitution, as we speak in Nigeria today, there's already a provision where people can create state police. Lazy governors will come to tell you that they need a special provision. But here, I was in Kano. Hishba came to disrupt our event under the guise of working for the state, the secretion. You know, in those states today, Amotekun is working brilliantly. It was because somebody stood that they don't have everything they need to have. We must have that conversation. They don't carry an AK-47. They still carry this kind of guns. But the truth is also a truism that to a very great extent, the presence of Amotekun has actually created some kind of sanity within the community. State governors, as we speak now, are receiving allocation in amounts that they have never seen before. That's why at every point in time I get disappointed, because I've peeped into government. I've been in this business for since when I was 22. So I know the spending of government. I can tell you that this state got this amount, and from the amount they got, it's disheartening that 40% of it go into private pocket. So, number 2, when we are restructuring our architecture, we must pay attention that we do not need a new law in Nigeria to make things work. We only need new logic. The small allowance you have to make things happen, please make it happen. I do not expect Governor of Benue State to come on TV and painting an impression that there's nothing I can do. Well, number 3, please let me quickly just make this point. Right. Number 3 is the fact that when we want to restructure our security architecture, we must pay attention to the feeling of the people more than the politics of the land. What we do now is that government is not paying attention to anything that will not bring him glory. And what do I mean? We prefer to put some trillions in road making, into house building that we will never complete in the next 4 years, than ensuring that we sensitively and strategically make investment in areas that will make our people lead a better life. Now, number 4, which is the most important, is the fact that we must change our mentality in Nigeria. When you talk about security, I say to people that when you are at the West and you hear of gun story, they just shot somebody in the school and all of that. But you still have the impression that the West is safe. Why? Security most of the time is about the time limit of response. It's not just about prevention, it's also about response. So if you have a responsive community that responds to crime as quickly as possible, in your head you think that that community is safe. And for you to be able to respond to any crime appropriately, there's this 10% strategy in philosophy. It is believed philosophically that there will always be 10% of your populace that want to commit crime. The role of government is to rally the remaining 90% against this crime. And they can only rally you when you believe in your government. But as we have it now, Nigerian people do not believe in the Nigerian government.
It's a tough one. Let's go to Daily Times very quickly. There's a very sweet story there. I call it sweet because it's indeed sweet. PDP's 100th neck threatened as INEC recognizes Anyanwu. The Daily Times. The Daily Times. At the top there, PDP's 100th National Executive Committee meeting threatened as INEC recognizes Anyanwu. I don't know if we've been following the PDP drama. Anyanwu has been recognized by INEC, and this is a big one. Anyway, let's take this call.
We do have Austin joining us from Lagos. Austin, a very good morning to you.
Morning,
we
Austin.
have Austin.
Okay.
We lost him.
Anyway, let's look at the PDP story. That's a big one. I would like us to look at that, but let's also look at this one. NHRC worries over killings in Benue Plateau, says food insecurity looms. Adamawa APC denies Ribado's endorsement, insists it only passed confidence vote. And Nigeria losing oil firms to insecurity, Pengassin. Let's look at this. Either of these stories, the PDP recognizing Anyanwu, and then Nigeria losing oil firms to insecurity, according to Pengassin. Now, remember that Pengassin also came out yesterday to say that the price of fuel should at least come down to 707 or 750, and that marketers are making a kill over the price, they're increasing it at will, while blaming the fight again in Israel and Iran, talking about the war that's ongoing. What's your take on that, Mr. Sesan?
Yeah, the two stories that you laid before us, as regard PDP, pardon me, I decided not to even interfere in all this, their politicking that they are doing, because the essence of them being there is for good governance, and we are not getting it. So whatever they have internally, within themselves, they should settle it. They should come out and see how strong they can be, and see how they can be a better and formidable critique, of this administration. APC did that during their, it's not that they didn't have their problem, but let them put themselves together and see how they can criticize.
So you agree with the words of the president?
Yeah?
The words of the president.
Well,
he likes it. Like my colleague would say, I would say you love it.
You love it.
So, say yes.
Because I can tell you for free, the ruling party has their internal crisis, but they are managing it. So they should look internally and say the best they can offer. Nigerians expect much more than what we are seeing from them as opposition party in this administration, and we are not getting that which is expected. As regard the issue of Pengassin and the oil marketers, the insecurity we're discussing is another. Joe, you need to understand how people outside the shore of country calls us on daily basis, as if Nigeria is a failed nation. At times, I will call my people and say, excuse me, I'll be traveling to Akure, where you go practically like every other day.
Yeah.
And they say, sir, are you flying? I say, no, I'm going by road. Say, please, we don't have ransom to pay. Neither do we have this to say. I say, it's not that bad now. I'm going to Ibadan. They say, are you going to get police protection? I say, for what? It's not. They say, no, we just heard. We just read. So the impression outside the shore of the country is as if Nigeria is, and later we now have stories like this of Benue. It amplified it the more to say that nowhere is safe in the country. So you can imagine an investor coming into that sector. How do you want to protect and shield their expatriates or even the locals that you are engaging in the service that they intend to provide? It's something that government is really turning eyes away, but they don't know the economic damage they are actually providing to we the citizen. Because you can imagine, if there is security, there is bound to be prosperity, sincerely speaking.
Fact.
And we have said it again that this idea of waiting, because yesterday we read in the headlines where they said the fight between Israel and Iran is responsible for the increase. And I have come out as an economic person to say, see, of what benefit it is, I have a raw material that God has blessed me with without any struggle. and I'm suffering to get the finished product being worked out. If we have, hypothetically, 1.5 million barrels per day, I'm just giving that figure, nothing stops us of pulling out. First and foremost, do we have data of our daily consumption? We have asked this question severally, and we have not gotten a reply to say, this is the range of what we consume as per PMX, DPK, AGO. That when we locally refine this product, this is the expected result. That can give us to say, okay, if you have 1.5 million, can we have a guarantee to say 500 is given to the local refiners, whether government owned or the private sector? And we have an agreement with you. What is your cost of processing this thing? We will give you this as the raw material. I'll be able to, so that we can give a good respite to our citizens, because it is our product. But all we hear is that the market forces has never favored us. All you see in the developed climate in Asia is that they first self-satisfy themselves before they consider exporting those things out. Of what benefit it is that you are selling our crude oil and you are making money and we are not benefiting for it. As far as I'm concerned, it's for the few. But go ahead and have an agreement with every of the production, the refiners, and say, we are ready to give this to you. I give kudos to say that, okay, Naira for crude, particular thing, but it still hangs on the market force. How much are they selling it? What will become of us by the time you hear that the cost of crude oil is about $100 per barrel? That means what we are enjoying now at 800 and something might skyrocket to another, maybe 1,200 or 1,300.
On all levels.
That's what it's looking like. Yeah. We must redefine the scope of things. We own this raw material. Utilize this for us first. This money you want to gain by selling, how can I be selling and producing this thing, and Joe is my brother, I'm selling it out, and selling out the raw material, and Joe has to go and buy, when he can benefit directly from it? Set up our refinery. If the government cannot manage it, let's get individuals that can invest. Dangote has opened up the floor. Let's encourage so that other people can invest in this and see how they can satisfy us. Give him specific quota of what he is supposed to produce locally for the people. Then if he has external ones that he needs to export, then we can be giving him at the market price. We cannot continue to be suffering our people and feel that we are under governance, good governance.
Two things here. The very first one is transparency, like you rightfully said. And that's a problem that we see here at the core of everything in our MDAs, from the national level down to the grassroots. Transparency has always been an issue. And then second is accountability and the core of it being for the people instead of politicizing it. And that is what has happened increasingly in the oil sector. Are we ever going to get to a point where all of this that is mentioned is seen in action in our oil sector?
Okay, so I totally believe that we're going to get to that point, because the only thing we can continue to bank on as far as our nation is concerned is hope. And we'll continue to engage government just the same way we are engaging it. I said it repeatedly, democracy is a government of figure and feeling. When you continue to bank on the figure that you have, and you do not care about the feeling of the people, at the end of the day, you're going to come out as a big failure, which is what is looking at in government today. Now, just as Sesan said, I've repeatedly also said it, that you see, when you create prosperity in a community for a class, you are creating crisis without knowing. And once you do not redefine your concept of prosperity, you drive more people into poverty. He was saying it now. He didn't know that it's almost costing the government, because you were saying that, God forbid, that a barrel of crude gets to $100. But that's what the president is praying for. Because the mindset of, yes, they hate you now. Yes, because the mindset of this government is more money.
Yeah, I mean, that's why they enforce the emergency rule, isn't it?
I've been investing costing to say.
I say, when you say, people don't understand concept. In government, you say, when government says, I'm removing subsidy, it doesn't mean that I'm taking subsidy away. It means that I'm swapping the payer of subsidy. That means that I've been paying before, but now I want you to pay. I don't know whether you get the concept. And that's exactly what the government is saying. They only swap the payee of the subsidy. Now when they get more money, they believe that what they need is more money. And the people will continue to slide into more poverty. So it's so sad. And unfortunately, let me quickly add this to what you don't want to talk about. Unfortunately, the PDP that is supposed to be on their neck and be pressing it slightly so that they cannot breathe very well. The PDP is in complete disarray. And it has shown me in my study of politics in Nigeria that the only thing that unites a political party is power. Whenever they fall out of power, and you will see the crisis that will break out in APC when they fall out of power, immediately they fall off power, then crisis in the community. The crisis in PDP will have been avoidable. But they put themselves where they are now. And I think they should not blame anybody. It's injustice to be blaming the government of the day for being responsible for what they are going through. It's absolute injustice. They created what they are going through. They have the capacity to rectify it if they are willing to make sacrifices. But unfortunately, once it's about power, nobody is ready to make sacrifice. It's either me or me. And that's why they are still where they are.
Well, another thing to look at is, if we have time, let's touch on the Guardian newspaper. Look at the top left there. I was trying to see how I can glean quickly on that story. The top left there says something very intriguing. Concerning the PDP, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
INEC rejects PDP's NEC meeting notice without secretary's signature.
Yes. So it is, in the constitution of PDP, I wanted to touch on that. It is stated that it is any correspondent that goes to INEC must be signed by the secretary.
Right. So why?
So when, no, he was not the one that signed. So Ayaw is not the one that signed. That's what led to the story of his acceptance. So INEC is telling them that the only secretary that we recognize is actually Ayaw.
But the constitution, according to the PDP stalwarts, have said that Ayaw is not the secretary. Now, anyway, this divide is a conversation that I don't think we can have.
No, so sorry, sir. It is not the constitution that says Ayaw is not the secretary. It is party leadership that says it. But of course, because I've run a political party, sitting as a chairman of a political party has made me to understand that, you see, when it comes to correspondence to INEC, the national chairman, in fact, to the point that if you do your primary at the state level for governorship, it is not the state chairman that will write. It's not the chairman of the political party. It is the national secretary of the party that will still communicate same to INEC. So any correspondence that is happening at the national level between INEC and political party must be signed by the secretary. INEC is coming out to say the only authentic secretary we know is, permit me to use this phrase, is Wike's boy. Thank you.
So that's where, before you
I was waiting for that to happen.
let me take it from there. When I said constitution, I meant constitution of the party, not Nigeria's.
Yeah, I understand.
Constitution. The party constitution
the party
that guides the party.
Right.
We did have one of the stalwarts, I mean, one of the chieftains of the PDP here, seated here, and he made it clear that the party does not recognize him as a secretary.
Yes.
The reason is because you had left your seat and went to contest, which automatically means that you've missed it. And then after a period of time, you came back and still installed yourself as, we saw the kicking and the fighting at some point in those videos. But anyway, so let me let you react. Let me let you.
I don't know. I'm not a PDP person and not too deep in politics. The fact remains that are there correspondence? Because it's not just enough to say you left your seat, duty post, and you came back. There must definitely be documentation. Pardon me, you know I'm a chartered accountant.
Absolutely.
And we believe so much in that.
You don't play.
You must put your blood. If there is no documentation to INEC communicating the change for replacement, you're only kidding. You know, it's not only in PDP now. All of us,
Labour Party
everywhere, aside political party, we always make this joke where we are. They say, no secretary, no meeting. That's the way we always put it. Is to tell you how strong. So it's not enough to say this has actually happened. Are there documentary evidence to show that at the time you left your seat, these were actually the correspondence that we exchanged giving your replacement and duly honored or acknowledged by INEC to say this. If there is nothing, if you start exchanging words with it, it's your words against my words, and we hold no water. Right. And I think that's what INEC is doing at this point in time, to say, as far as our own file, our document is concerned, this is the person we recognize as the secretary of the party.
I'm going to say the quiet part out. I think that's, I'm already known for this, so forgive me, right? But you sort of set us on that course, and that is the weapon that is fashioned against PDP. Can we address it? Can PDP overcome the weapon that is fashioned against it, and is none other than the personified, the minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike?
Okay, so Wike is not the problem of PDP.
Why do you say so?
Fantastic. Every other person now, if you put all of these PDP stewards that we talk about, if you line 10 of them, you line them up, you discover that at one point or the other, more than 7 of them has decamped to other party. When they left PDP and went to other party, it was one man that was supporting the party, that was funding the party, because the most expensive business in Nigeria today is political business. To maintain a political party, you need billions of naira. I mean billions of naira. And it's coming, all of them went away. Now they have come back, truly. And that's why they lack the courage to, by now, if they were in charge of the party, they should have suspended him. But they knew that they do not have, all of them, they do not have the moral ground to do it because they chicken out.
Yep. All right, so I need to take, just give me a sec. I just need to take it back to say, this was speculative, right? We don't know if Wike is indeed the weapon that is fashioned against, PDP. But of course, I need to frame that question to spur this conversation.
I totally understand.
Anyway, I think I want us to leave the PDP. You know why? There's a big one, and we're out of time. And I think we need to touch on it very quickly. On The Guardian as well, doctors must be incentivized to stay in Nigeria, says Obasanjo. Obasanjo has finally lent his voice to doctors who are jackpying, who are leaving the country. And then federal government ties credit score to NIN in major reform plan. Lastly, I want us to look at this big story on the front page there. Property owners shun sea of old title registries over bureaucracy, graft. What's your take on this? I'm sure these men in the studio are property owners, one way or the other. And we know what it is like getting C of O. It is a problem. Quickly, 30 seconds each. I mean, what you make of this?
I would say that government business, we should start redirecting things with the advent of technology. A lot of this problem can be resolved. There are a lot of bureaucracy and bottlenecks, human interference when it comes to you having any business to do with the government. And this we must change. We must get to the level that IT speaks to. You can scan it. I've had calls to interface with private organization, and I won't step at their office for anything. We have a meeting online. We all are the documentation are done online, and you see the approval happening online, and you see the business. We are talking of multi-million business carried out, and they will do their due diligence without you even coming to see your face. Okay, is Judith, is she black? Is it this? No. All they want is that they have done their due diligence behind the scene without you saying, and technology will do it. These are phones that we're carrying about now go a long way to speak who is actually carrying out a particular. And I think government should look for a way to start integrating into this, because every state you go, except those that have embraced technology, even in the area where we specialized on tax revenue, the only way FRS is boasting today that they are actually having more revenue to collect from the people is because they've adopted technology, which is their Promax. But for state at the subnational that are still going the route of come and fill paper, I can't remember the last time I visited a bank to go and carry out a transaction, because technology now solved the problem. So government must look for a way to integrate, and we are not saying that they should shun the civil servant. They should give them enough training to integrate them into the system, because technology is the next way to go if we must grow in our economy.
So let me talk about
quickly,
the
please,
doctor story of Obasanjo. And I wanted to jokingly start by saying, nah, native doctor go to treat us if we are not careful.
The way it's going, the way it's going.
But of course, one fantastic way out of this trouble is it's not just about handing money to people. Fund the education sector, pay particular attention to medicine. Let them pay less than what they are paying now with a written agreement with the government. When you graduate, you must stand there, you must work for Nigeria for 3 years. Once you put this in place, at least you are certain that your universities will continue to churn out doctors that at least must stay with you for 3 years. When you do this for a period of 5 years, you will have circulated doctors around.
But those 3 years, the doctors are here. But in 3 years, the doctors are here, aren't they? I mean, they're still here and they're working.
It's after the 3 years.
So they're still good.
Before the 3 years, you will have filled them with another set of people.
Hang on.
Thank you for watching, guys.
Joe, before we do that, I have a special request. On this table, there's someone whose birthday was yesterday.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's true.
Now, is it me? The answer is no. Is it Joe? Unfortunately, no. Out of these 2 gentlemen, there's none other than the man himself, Mr. Dotun Ojon. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you so much.
We are so glad for your birthday. We're so happy to celebrate one more year, to see you, clock a year. But also, we're very appreciative of you, of all the hard work and coming in here as early as you can and giving your best every single time. The entire Breakfast Central team and also News Central is so grateful for you, and we want to say everyone here in the house, happy birthday.
Thank you
may
so
this new year
much.
bring all of the blessings, and may every day be a day of answered prayers for you for the rest of your life.
Amen.
Happy
Thank
birthday.
You so much.
And that's it. That's it.
church for Judith.
No,
The way it's going.
the funny thing is I'm agnostic.
I think so. Okay, you want to be the treasurer?
I know, maybe start collecting tax. I'll start collecting first seeds.